I've just driven into towards the centre of town, and utter devastation. Thousands of trees have been down by the looks of things. The road is almost completely covered in fallen branches and leaves, and down trees, down power lines as well. So we've only seen a small snapshot so far, but what we've seen would indicate very, very widespread destruction, lots of structural damage to houses, cars crushed under fallen trees, lorries crushed, so a pretty devastating scene. We're getting reports as well of long queues for fuel, which is in short supply. There is no electricity in any of the capital at the moment. People having to rely on generators if they have them, but that's also affected the water supply as well. Water isn't being pumped either, so it's a pretty desperate situation.
Is there any kind of coordinated rescue operation, any kind of response going on that you know of and that you can observe?
Well, not that we've seen at the moment, but I mean, I would stress that, we've really only just arrived, so we've only seen a small part of the city, but certainly a lot of people looking like they're just fending for themselves. We've seen a lot of people chopping, tree branches at the side of the road, storing fallen tree logs, trying to clear the road. We understand that there is a significant communication problem here. All of the phone lines are down, there's no electricity, so it's incredibly difficult to confirm the extent of the damage from official sources here, and equally for the government, it's equally difficult for them to try and coordinate any sort of response because their communications are so fraught.
Trying to cope with what's going on. Have you spoken to anyone? What's been their response to what they're facing right now?
Well, everyone's just talking about the ferocious strength of the winds, talking of, sort of 240 kilometre an hour winds that tore through this. We've seen huge advertising hoardings that have been smashed apart, trees down, cars wrecked. Everyone, still really in a certain degree of shock as to the strength and severity and ferociousness of this cyclone Nargis, which has left this capital completely paralysed.
And from the pictures that we're actually seeing on our screens at the moment, the images that we're seeing, it looks like it's going to take a long time to clear this kind of damage up.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's certainly the impression I would get. The driver that drove us in said it will take many weeks to clear this up, and I think he's right. I mean, it was actually quite reminiscent of for me, the storm in Britain back in 1987. There was a hurricane in Britain which wreaked total destruction in the eastern part of Britain. It's a bit like that here. There were just trees everywhere, barely a tree standing in some parts of the town. And so you can imagine, with all the telephone lines and electricity lines that are down, it's going to take an awful long time to get all that back up. And this is in a country which is poor anyway, by international standards, which, has got a very poor health system. I think they spend less on health than almost any other country, according to United Nations figures. So you can imagine the desperate situation for those that are wounded and those who've been injured in all this.
And of course, the death toll that we are hearing about right now is more than 350. Do you think, from what you can observe, that that's something which could be expected to rise as more figures come out?
I would imagine so. I would imagine there are a large number of places that are still inaccessible. I mean, this is the centre of the capital, and it's pretty difficult to get around. So you can only imagine what it's going to be like out in the Irrawaddy Delta, which bore the brunt of this cyclone. Sadly, I think this will just be the tip of the iceberg, and that death toll will rise significantly.
Of course, as we know, this is a very secretive government, a very secretive regime. Do you think they will be open to any offers of aid that might be coming in to help them cope with this situation?
Well, it's not something we've heard so far, and you're right, they have a very fractious relationship with the international community generally. This all comes just a week before a referendum here on a new constitution, which is basically the result of more than 10 years of talk about somehow trying to restore democracy here and to end military rule. Now, that whole process has been bitterly criticised by the opposition here, who say that the military government is not serious about handing over power and that the whole thing is going to be rigged. it's going to be very interesting to see whether that referendum can go ahead, given the level of destruction here in Yangon. Of course, the capital has moved up to Naypyidaw, halfway up the country. So much of the sort of official ministries and so on are probably okay because they're out of the destruction zone. But here in the former capital, Yangon, it is terrible destruction, and it's difficult to see how they're going to have a referendum when people haven't got electricity, they haven't got phones, many people haven't got water.